Yo, what is good? It is the Scaladallo, and I am here with this UFC Fight Night. Dos Anjos versus Lawler analysis and predictions. Now, this is a really good card. I like that it starts earlier than most fight nights as well. I'm gonna do these four fights on the main card. With the first fight, we have Glover Teixeira versus Misha Shirkinov. Now, this is a really good matchup. Two fighters, they're both coming off losses. They're looking to get back on a winning streak. Both of these fighters are pretty well rounded. They're both showed knockout power and the ability to get submissions as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Glover Teixeira, really good fighter, really tough, very good boxing, good wrestling, and a really good submission game as well. He had Misha Serkinov, who he's really good too. Very good striking. He has really good kickboxing. And he has really good submission game as well too. So yeah, this is a really good matchup skill wise. The difference I think in this fight is gonna be the youth of Misa Shirkinov. I just think at this point in their careers, he's taking less damage. I think Glover, he's getting older and he's slowing down. I think Misha, he's gonna be faster, and I think if he's smart, he be able to take less damage in this fight. Now, Misha, he can't get over aggressive like he did in his last fight against Glover, because Glover is very savvy and he will catch him if he comes in too over aggressive. Now, I think Serkinov, he should want to keep this fight standing. I think he want to keep it in a kickboxing range. He kicks more than Glover Teixeira does, so I think he should keep the fight in kicking range to avoid most of Glover Teixeira's boxing. You know, Misha, he should use his kicks to set up his punches and use his punches to set up his kicks. And Glover, he's gonna want to have to get inside, get in close range, get in his boxing, get in the clinch, even look to get the fight to the ground and work from the top position. He'll be very effective from there. For my prediction, I'm gonna go with Misha Serkinov. I just think he's the younger fighter, and he's still in his prime. And I think Glover Teixeira, he's on his way down. I think he's slowing down, and I think his chin is getting weaker as well. Especially after that beating Alexander Gustafsson gave to him. So yeah, I think if he's patient and not over aggressive, he will take this fight. I think he'll be faster. He'll be able to use his kicks, land those, and I think he should take this fight. So I'm gonna go with Misha Serkinov by unanimous decision in this fight. Now for the next fight, a very exciting matchup. Two knockout artists. We have Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Mike Perry. Now this fight is for sure fireworks, and I'll be surprised if this doesn't end in a knockout. Now I think Ponzinibbio, he's technically the better striker. He has sharper technique, better footwork. Than Mike Perry. Mike Perry, he kind of attacks, in a straight line. So I think Ponzinibbio, to win this fight, he's really going to have to use his footwork and use his head movement, and not just stand in front of Mike Perry where he's effective. And Mike Perry, you know how he's going to fight. He's just going to come really aggressive, throwing everything he can. I think in this fight, I think Mike Perry has the better chin, but I think Mike Perry, he kind of relies on his chin too much, and he relies on being aggressive, having a strong chin and being the more powerful fighter. And I think against Ponzinibbio, he's going to have to be a little more careful because Ponzinibbio is very powerful as well. For this fight, I don't really see it hitting the ground. I think it's going to be a for sure knockout either way. I am picking Santiago Ponzinibbio in this fight because he's the technically better striker. But he has to be careful because if Mike Perry connects, it's going to be over. I think Santiago Ponzinibbio, he should use Mike Perry's aggression against him. Kind of have a matador style and really just catch him coming aggressive. And I think Ponzinibbio can get the knockout in this fight. So I'm going to pick Ponzinibbio by knockout. I'm going to say round one because of how aggressive both of these fighters are. All right, the next fight we got Ricardo Lamas versus Josh Emmett, who's replacing Jose Aldo. It was supposed to be Jose Aldo in this fight. Josh Emmett, he's moving down to 145. He just took his first loss to Desmond Green. He's 2-1, and this is a big opportunity for Josh Emmett. This is he's fighting the number 3 ranked featherweight right now, so that'll put him right there. Right there in title contention if he wins this fight impressively. And you have Ricardo Lamas, perennial top 5 featherweight, a very underrated fighter. Stylistically, this is a good matchup. Striking, I think Ricardo Lamas is the better striker. He's gonna be the longer striker, the taller fighter. I think technically he's gonna be better. He likes to kick more. I think he has sharper punches. Josh Emmett has an interesting striking style. Like, he throws a lot of big hooking overhand punches. But he uses angles, really creativity to land those types of punches. Wrestling wise, they're both good wrestlers. Josh Emmett, I think, will probably initiate the takedowns in this fight. I think Ricardo, his takedown defense is only 47%, but I don't see Josh Emmett being able to really control Ricardo Lamas on the ground. I think he might land takedowns, but I think Ricardo will be able to either get back to his feet or threaten with submissions. So I think Josh Emmett, he has to be careful, though. He can't be trying to spam takedowns because Ricardo will jump on that neck. So this is a good matchup. Ricardo Lamas really has nothing to gain from this fight. This is a high risk fight for him. So I think he should take this fight, though. I think he's technically the better striker. I think he does have that submission threat. And Josh Emmett, he is tough, but I'm gonna go with Ricardo Lamas by decision. But I would not be surprised if he gets a guillotine choke as well. Now for the main event, a really good matchup. You got Robbie Lawler versus Rafael dos Anjos. Rafael dos Anjos, he just came off a dominating win over Neil Magny in his second fight at welterweight. And you had Robbie Lawler, who just came back, got on the win streak in a very close fight against Donald Cerrone. And that was a close fight. I picked Donald Cerrone, but that was a really close fight. This is a crossroads fight because Rafael dos Anjos, this is gonna show how good he really is at welterweight, and this is gonna show if Robbie Lawler still has it. Because I don't think he looked that good against Donald Cerrone in that fight. I think a lot of people were unimpressed by his performance in that fight. Striking wise, they're both really good kickboxers. Robbie Lawler, I think he'll be the bigger man, so I think he'll be the more powerful striker in this fight. I think Dos Anjos will have a little bit of a speed advantage, though. But Robbie Lawler will be the more powerful striker in this fight. Grappling wise, Dos Anjos has pretty good wrestling. Robbie Lawler has really good takedown defense. So I really don't see this fight going to the ground. I think Dos Anjos, he will try to mix in takedowns, but I think Robbie will be able to defend those pretty well. So yeah, I see this fight taking place on the feet. I predict a really high-paced fight, and they're really going to be going at it, Robbie Lawler, he likes to take rounds off in fights. Now, I don't think that's a smart strategy to do against Dos Anjos, because Dos Anjos is a fighter who is constantly in your face, constantly pushing the fight, constantly pushing the pace for all 5 rounds. So I think it won't be wise for Robbie Lawler to take rounds off unless he really plans on finishing the fight, Because if he doesn't and he's taking rounds off, Dos Anjos can squeak out the decision, by winning rounds that he takes off. For my prediction, I am going to go with Rafael dos Anjos in this fight. Now, initially, I went back and forth with this. Initially, I went with Robbie Lawler just because I thought he was going to be bigger and just more powerful on the feet. But I think Robbie Lawler is declining. First, he suffered that knockout loss to Tyron Woodley, lost the title. And then in the Donald Cerrone fight, I was not impressed by him. He didn't seem to have the same pop in his punches. and he just looked slower in that fight. So I think he's declining a little bit. And I think Rafael dos Anjos, he's at 170. He's not draining himself to make weight. I think he'll be able to push a really good pace. He's going to be in really good shape. And I think he'll be able to steal the rounds off, being faster, having more activity in these rounds. I don't see him knocking Robbie Lawler out. I don't think he has the power for that. Robbie Lawler has a really good chin. I don't see Rafael dos Anjos getting a knockout, but I do see him winning the rounds. It's probably going to be a close fight, So I am picking Rafael dos Anjos by decision in this fight. So y'all can go ahead, tell me what y'all think. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll be doing all the UFC fight cards. Peace and salute.